Alright, today I'm going to show you how to do your sample copper piece, and we're working with a method called Chasing Repousse. These are the tools that you'll need. This is just a spiral notebook, so you need something that's squishy that will allow you to press into the copper on the surface, and it will it has a little bit of give to it. A table won't work. So you need to get a notebook out, and that will be your surface. Okay, you need your Sharpie. Let's go ahead and draw. We're going to start with drawing some circles. So draw 5 circles on your copper, anywhere you want, doesn't matter. Different sizes. Now leave a little bit of an edge. I'm leaving, this is like a 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. Leave that around the edge so you don't go right to the edge of your copper. Okay, the next shape is going to be a triangle. We're going to make a triangle, maybe a double triangle. Okay, now we're going to make 3 lines, kind of close together. Okay, the next shape is going to be a organic shape. We're going to make kind of like a leaf shape. Have a flat back. And we're going to make one next to it, maybe the same idea. Yours can look a little different. And let's go ahead and make something that has lots of edges to it. Okay, flip this over. The back is aluminum. Put your name in the lower right-hand corner. This back side is where we're going to do a technique called repousse, which is going to be pushing in from the back. So the reverse is repousse, and the front is chasing. And the tools we're going to use are these tools, and these are from your material bag. If you have other tools that you think would work once you get started with this process, something like a plastic, sometimes nail cuticle pushers that are plastic have really nice ends to them. They're more rounded and they would make a good tool to push. A wooden pencil without the lead, like something that is broken that maybe you would just throw away. It's nice and round, and anything really that's not a sharp metal point might do the job. So if you feel like you think of something that would work, you can use it on the practice piece and see what kind of outcome you get. So let's start here. This is the copper side. We're going to do some chasing, and chasing is moving the metal by pushing it down to kind of stretch it. Okay, so we're pushing and pulling the metal to create depth, and we're making a relief. So we're going to start on the inside of this line and push the metal down with your tool. Okay, so if you can imagine, you're just pushing all of the metal on the inside of this line, pushing it down. Okay. So if this was a crayon or a marker, you'd be filling in the space with your tool. So I picked up a tool that It's working okay. There might be another one that works better, but this is just getting started. So I have kind of moved the tool around the edge. You can move your copper piece. And the whole idea is to define the edge, get a nice crisp edge, and work within your design. So this is all being pushed down. Maybe it doesn't look like much right now, but we're gonna flip it over and look at what it is from the back and see if we've gotten any depth. Okay, let's flip it. So you can see if you run your finger over it, you have this pushed out area, and you've brought it, you've pushed the metal and you've brought it up a little bit. From this side, take your tool and go around the edge. So you're defining it on this side, you're pushing it down to make it more apparent, more defined. So this is gonna be like a pancake. We're gonna flip it again. And you're doing courses of pushing down the metal, so you can really raise it as much as you can. So you can get a depth, and the idea is to keep pushing the metal to get as much movement as you can out of it without breaking through the metal. Okay, so I'm grabbing this tool. Here's the problem I find, is that sometimes these tools bend too much. So if you can imagine like a pencil that's more sturdy and rigid, but it doesn't have the lead in it, it's just kind of this, you know, point that's not really sharp. Think of a broken pencil lead, but it still has that taper to it. That would work pretty good. Okay, this one I'm finding doesn't work that great. So we'll get another one. This one is a little bit stiffer, which I think might work well. You can also move to another edge. So common mistakes students have is they're like, I'm done. Well, the whole idea is to really get define crisp edges and pay attention to detail, because this is pretty small. It's not like it's a foot or 16 inches large. It's only 5 inches, and we're working within that space. So you're only gonna get like a 4-inch design really when we're working on our final mandala, and everything will be looked at closely, so you have to pay attention to detail. Okay, so we've pushed this area down. Let's push this area up towards us, so having this come out at us, which means instead of going on the inside of the circle, we will go on the outside. Okay, so trace around the outside edge. And again, this doesn't look like you're doing very much at all, but you're defining the outer edge. So when you flip it, you have a space to work on the inside. So I'm going to try this tool. Define that outer edge. And then flip it. You're flipping it to the aluminum side. Okay. Now you have this definition. Work on the inside. So leave the area that you raised and go to the inside of that and push it down. Okay, so a common mistake would be to push down the area you already raised up, and then that would just be getting rid of all the work you just did. So keeping that outer edge you already made and come to the inside. I'm going to try this tool. This tool is working better because it's a little bit more as sturdy, it's a little thicker, it's a little stronger. Okay, now flip it over. And this is pushed out, but it's not very, doesn't have very much height to it. So let's just push this area around it down. So right now I'm doing chasing, this chasing process where I'm working from the front. If I flip it over, I'm doing a process called repousse and working from the reverse. So you can remember the reverse is repousse and the front is chasing. The front is copper on our sheet. So press down pretty hard. If I didn't have this paper underneath, I couldn't get that sinking of the copper. It would just be very, very flat. So I will know if you don't have the paper underneath, if you're just working on a surface, a wooden table, you know, a granite countertop or something really, really hard, you're not gonna get this kind of pillowed look to it. It's gonna be super flat. So remember, you have to put it on something soft. Okay, so we've sunk this in, we've pushed this up. Let's try something that is pretty close together and it's an organic shape. So right now I'm starting on the inside. You can do that, okay? That will sink it down. If you want it to push out towards you, trace on the outside, okay? So I guess I already started this. So I'll just, this one looks nice if you push it out. So if you want to do it a little different than mine, you would be tracing on the outside. Let's see what this looks like. So we're staying within the line, okay? If you wanted to push it out, you would trace around it, just like we did before. Okay, so that's, you're not done. Flip it over. Now you see that raised part, okay? Go around it to flatten out the edge. Okay, that makes it crisp and defines the line. Okay, flip it over and sink it again. So you're pressing pretty hard and you're sinking it down to create that line. The more that you can sink it, the better, and the more detail you'll get. Okay, so the whole project is how much can you work the metal. Okay, if you work it too much though, it will rip. So it usually rips if you have a sharpened edge, like a point that's sharp. This is not sharp, it's rounded. But if you use a different tool with a sharp edge, it will, you run the risk of it breaking through the copper. So for instance, I used a wooden pencil, but it had the lead in it still, and the lead was not sharp at all. It was pretty dull, but it was still there. And I eventually pushed through and made a crack in the material. And you know, it could have been that lead that pushed through, or I could have just gone over the surface so many times that I weakened it. But this tool seems to be